Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for the opportunity to speak to all the coaches that are here today. I ask you just watch over them and bless their family, Father. For them to take time to volunteer to impact kids, Father, such a big step. And I ask that you would just give them the wisdom and insight to do so. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Here's kind of what we're going to do today. We had our welcomes. Talk about why you're here. We're going to talk about being a coach. What does it mean to be a coach? We'll also talk about coaching the Spring Spirit way, kind of how we do it from the bottom to the top. We'll talk about some of our coaching management. What does it mean to do coaching management? We'll talk about our philosophies on skills, and then kind of like what Jay talked about a second ago, developing skills, and then we'll have some baseball talk where we'll just sit there and talk back and forth about some questions that you might have or some issues you might have with certain players. How many of you, this is your first year to ever coach? You're volunteering for the first time. Awesome, congratulations, thank you for doing that. It's not as crazy as it seems. It's not as hard as it seems. We're going to give you all the tools necessary to have a great year. So don't be too worried about that. Why are you here? Okay, you're here for. We decided at Spring Spirit that we wanted to help people, want to help coaches, give them the tools necessary to make an impact in the community, make an impact on the kids. And so we wanted to figure out what are the tools necessary. I've been blessed that this is what I did. I played high school baseball, I played college baseball, I played professional baseball, then I got into coaching. And I was a high school coach right down the street actually. My last stint was at Houston Christian High School. I was there for 10 plus years. And this is who I am and what I do. And so when I had a chance to use that as a coach to impact kids, it was amazing to me. And so we wanted to come here at Spring Spirit, and we wanted to give you guys some tools necessary for volunteers who come into a Little League. That's the way I grew up playing. It was my dad and a bunch of volunteers in the community, and they impacted a bunch of kids. So we wanted to do that, but we wanted to have a situation or a program in place to give you the tools necessary to do that, so that our community and our parents knew exactly what was going on, knew exactly what the kids were being taught, what was being coached, how all that was going on. And so today, you're going to do a level 1 certification. All our coaches, Toro, CRL, this is basic coaching baseball in the Spring Spirit way. Now, we also have different levels of certification. Our level 2 certification is all Toro head coaches and our elite Toro assistant coaches. And then we have level 3 where all our elite level coaches. And so if you really like coaching baseball and this is something that is starting to boil inside of you, or you have a son and you want to go from CRL to the Toros, we have all of this. And so all of our paid Toro coaches are level 3s or level 2s. Now, this is a 4-hour seminar here today. Level 2, it's a little bit more in depth. You're going to actually spend time. You're going to have to spend a couple hours for about 4 months, spend some hours with some of our coaches. You're going to have to learn how to go do some tournament ball. We'll learn how to do that. Level 3 is even deeper. You're going to be doing player development plans. How do I get this player from point A to point B? We'll teach you how to do all those kind of things. But that's about a year long to do that kind of stuff. So if you want to get there, you can get there. If you're here to say, hey, I'm trying to get my T-baller just to run to first, coach, then we'll be able to take care of that today, okay? But for those who have a desire, if you want to do that, it is our desire at Spring Spirit that our kids from CRL go to the Toros. So you're here because of me. I'm sorry. You're here because of me, because when I got hired 5 years ago, the leadership here came and said, how do we develop a baseball program? We want Northbrook to beat Memorial. How do we do that? I said, very simple. It's Little League. I look at the best high schools around in Cy-Fair and Klein and Katy, and those guys, it's all about their Little League. Their Little Leagues are strong, their Little Leagues are vibrant, so I said, you want to do that, we need to develop a Little League here. So he sent me to the office and said, design a Little League. And so I spent hours figuring out what we needed to do, who we needed to do it with, and we decided to work with Cal Ripken and Babe Ruth Little League, and that's what we developed. And so the idea was that our Cal Ripken League would feed our Toros competitive league. So the idea is we'll develop the kids at T-ball and rookie and minor, and then they start coming in, they get so good that then we put them into our to our competitive league. And so that's the kind of focus that we're about. So the idea is you to develop players so good that they leave you. I know it sounds crazy, right? But that's what we want. We want you to develop players to feed into our Toros program. For those who don't know, our Toros program is our competitive program. They play both in tournaments, they play in other leagues outside of our community. This summer, or this fall, they're playing in the Bear Creek League. They'll play in tournament ball. Tournament baseball here in Houston is huge. It's Saturdays and Sundays. It's playing 6 games on a weekend. You got to learn how to juggle all that. But it gets those kids ready to compete. And that's the whole idea of what we're trying to do. We've also taken not only players, but we take coaches. So some of the guys who were in this room 2 or 3 years ago are now coaching our 10U team, right? And so we want to help develop not only the players, but on our side, we want to help develop the coaches. So that's why you're here today, because you're here for a level 1 certification. So it'll go in the books. Every coach has to do it. Every CRL coach has to go through this seminar, right? And so you do it now. You won't have to do it in the spring. But if we have new coaches, we're trying to do it today for the first time to record it. You'll see a little iPad here for a while, so we can do it online, do other ways. But it's mandatory for going forward. All right. So what does it mean to do level 1 certification, right? You got to do the following. You got to be here to complete this, whether it's on an online. How many of y'all done Positive Coaching Alliance or ever heard of PCA? So PCA is a positive coaching, and you're going to be remembered as a coach. The question is, you can be remembered as a good coach or a bad coach, right? If you played sports in your life, you can think back to the coach that was awesome, the coach that really helped motivate you, and you can think back to that coach that was a pain in your butt, right, that you hated, that was a jerk. And the question is, what kind of coach are you going to be? We have a thing called Positive Coaching Alliance. Juan is going to put that on, and we do it. It's going to be a pretty big situation. We're doing it with baseball and softball. It's a one-day seminar that you're here again for. It's a lot less than this, like an hour and a half. But it teaches you how to be positive, right? It teaches you how to be a positive coach. And the basis behind Positive Coaching Alliance is these 2 things. You only control 2 things as a player. As a player, you can only control 2 things: your attitude and your effort. They can't control if they have a ground ball goes between their legs. They can't control whether they strike out. Now, there's technique that we can get them better at, but what they can control is their attitude and effort, right? And as coaches, we need to understand that, and we need to feel that and build that and learn how to encourage them. We'll talk a little bit about that today as well. So you'll do that here shortly. Next thing, you're attending this workshop. We talked about all the things we're going to do today in this workshop. Now, one of the things that's recommended is there's a book called Inside Out Coaching. The founder of Spring Spirit is a guy by the name of Kenny Baldwin. And Kenny Baldwin, I got to meet this author. He's a former football player, played in the NFL. But he talks about coaching from the inside out. We want great baseball players, great soccer players, great softball players, but we want to make them great people. And so we want to worry about the inside as much as we worry about the outside. And that's what this whole book talks about. It's a great book. If you're into coaching or you really like to impact people, if you're a manager at work, at your job, this is some great ways to how to interact with people, right? I realized I got into coaching because at first I just loved baseball, wanted to be around it. But then I started realizing something as a high school baseball coach, that these 16 and 15 and 17-year-old boys were listening to me more than they were listening to their parent. And that became a crazy place. I was like, whoa, that's dangerous. And I know why there's problems in this world with coaches taking advantage of that. And you hear it all the time in the newspaper, because it's crazy how that, I'd have parents call me up and say, Johnny's not picking up his clothes. Can you talk to him? And I was like, I don't know why. Johnny, you need to be a disciplined baseball player, disciplined at the plate. You need to be disciplined at home, pick up your underwear, put it in the dirty clothes. Oh, okay, coach, the parent would come, Dad, I don't know what you did. So it was crazy. Then I come to realize that's a crazy place to operate. And so if I have that kind of thing, that kind of influence on a young man, what do I want to do? And then I started changing. You know what? I want to start coaching these kids as a young man that would date my daughter. I want to coach these kids as a young man that would coach my son. Now he's 16. But when I first started, that's what I wanted. And so not only to become great about baseball, and I'm going to give them all the skills, and I'll give you those same things, but it's more about how can we get these young men to become great young men. And in this community, that's what we need to do. I love our high school. You need to come in one of these days and meet the high school Toro kids to see where they've come from 4 years ago to where they are now. Man, they're full of confidence. They're walking around school with this little bit of swag, which I'm okay with, right? But they understand that their life has a better trajectory. We have 2 kids today that when I first got here didn't even know about college who are trying out for University of Houston downtown. Their baseball coach called them and said, hey, I want those 2 kids to come and try out for my team. So 2 Northbrook boys might get scholarships next year to go play college baseball, right? And then 4 years ago, those 2 same boys, I've known them for a long time, they wouldn't even shake your hand. They were just embarrassed. They had their head down, no confidence. And we started seeing that. And so it was about building them from the inside. We gave them the baseball. And so you'll hear this a lot today about the Spring Spirit Way. It's much more. You'll be shocked. The first part of this whole seminar has nothing to do with throwing a baseball or catching a baseball. It has to do with what goes on the inside, and us as coaches, how we can develop that. So you'll be asked to pass and demonstrate that you've done this. Now, the way that we're going to do this as far as passing your test or passing evaluation is you'll see a couple Toro coaches start walking practice. I don't know if you guys you saw on Tuesday, but me and another Toro coach, Grant Kaufman, we were just kind of walking around the field, I think that was Majors, right? Majors and T-ball were on Tuesday. And so we were walking around the field, and we were just evaluating and seeing if you were demonstrating any of the stuff we were taught. Now, some of the coaches hadn't been in here yet, but some had. And so we went and we're just going to start evaluating. So you'll start seeing us out there. Just because we're out there, don't freak out. We want to be available to you. So if you see us out there, you see a Toro coach, and then we'll be wearing these hats for the most part, or you'll see a Toro shirt, the green and orange Toros. If you see that, don't hesitate. Coach, come here. Well, I'm having a problem with this kid not doing. And it happened last week. I was walking around, he's not throwing strikes, but it's what's going on? And it's simple for me, right? 20 plus years of coaching baseball. I looked at, he's not throwing his elbow fast enough. I said, all right, do your elbow, fast elbow. Boom, just start throwing strikes, right? So our coaches will be around. So we're going to see and evaluate make sure we're demonstrating that. And again, this isn't a huge pass fail. If you fail, we're going to kick you out. You can't ever coach again. That's the opposite. We want to, if you're not doing it right, we want to give you the tools necessary. So be ready for that. That's how we're going to demonstrate that. All right, being a coach, like I talked earlier, I love being a coach. I love being able to impact young people and change their lives, not inside the game that I love. And here's a couple things about being a coach that really impacted me. These are a couple things that really are part of who I am. Being a coach, the job of a coach is to push a player beyond where a player would push himself in order for that player to achieve their dreams. Tom Landry, I'm not a big Cowboy fan, sorry for you Cowboy fans, but he was a great coach. And the things he said in that is true. I look back at my career, the coaches that really influenced me pushed me beyond where I thought I could push myself, right? And that not only impacted me as a baseball player, but impacts me now, realizing that I know that I can get through something, right? I got to push myself. I got to get through it. And that's what these coaches, that's what your job as a coach is, to push a kid. You'll have those kids that will cry on the field. You'll have those kids that say, I don't want to bat. I don't want to go on the field, right? You'll have those, right? You got to push them to get them out there, because that's their dream. They want to be out there and play one day, but they just need a nice, gentle nudge. Some of them need a gentle nudge. In high school, sometimes you got to do this every once in a while to them at the high school level. But with you guys, it's a gentle nudge. I love this by Lou Holtz. You're not born a winner. You're not born a loser. You make it or what yourself, right? So we need to teach them to be winners. We need to teach them what that means. And it's in the simplest things, right? It's not about winning baseball games. I've been around this a long time. You'll see some of these T-ballers who hit the ball, right? And then they hit it, and what do? They run after the ball, right? We want them to hit the ball and run to first. So being a winner and teaching them to do that is they hit the ball and they run to first base, you celebrate like they won the World Series. And all of a sudden that little kid is like, wow, they're pumped that I ran to, all I did is run to first. They're like, yes. And so little coaches, we all have these little sayings. And one of mine is, what is rewarded will be repeated. And so if you reward that person and going crazy just with clapping, I'm not